For update on sports stories across the globe, Aaron Akrejola, Aaron Deberon, joins us.
A very good morning to you, Doctor. Good morning to you, Mr. Fini. Now, let's get started with the 10-year football master plan that was presented to the president yesterday by the Minister of Youth and Sports, Sunday Dari, and he actually spoke glowingly about this plan and how it will restructure, revamp, and reposition football to be more viable in the 21st century. Let's hear from the minister. This is what he had to say in the presentation at the State House yesterday.
I've struggled to make progress at competitions. Therefore, Mr. President, it must be said, though, that Nigeria has recorded a measure of success to some extent on the international scene. Such successes cannot be attributed to any deliberate or sustainable plan or structural efficiencies, but rather to the passion, determination, and commitment of the players and the handlers of the team. The master plan recommends the expansion of the constituent for the NFF Elective Congress and Executive Board to make it meet new realities and needs. It therefore recommended an increase of the Executive Board to 111, 111, and 16 respectively, among other far-reaching recommendations. Mr. President, with your approval, this document will be presented to the Federal Executive Council for approval and future funding so that the implementation of the short, medium, and long-term plans can commence as part of the legacies of this administration.
I must say, quite commendable, and if you go through the master plan, it actually touches on some very salient issues. But fundamentally, a lot of people have faulted this particular master plan on the back of the fact that the people and the sector that this master plan is to target were not included when they were drawing up this master plan, which is the Nigeria Football Federation. Because the Nigeria Football Federation still owes its allegiance to FIFA. There is no way you can draw a master plan and not present it to the Congress for ratification and for adoption. Without that, probably you're trying to impose this particular master plan on the Nigeria Football Federation. Then technicalities begin to come in. Then we start talking about FIFA ban once again. And this is not the first master plan that has been drawn up, I must actually say, in the last 10 years. So this will not be the last, as a matter of fact. And people questioned a lot of things. And the reason why I mentioned the Nigeria Football Federation being included, because there were some major omissions. For example, the approach of the federal government towards subventions and interventions in regards to funds for the national teams. We know that right now the Nigeria Football Federation actually are operating 11 national teams. Let me just give a very classical example, two classical examples to probably buttress this point. Number one is the fact that the 2019 Nations Cup, which Nigeria won bronze, Nigeria only got the money, or the NFF only got the money for that Nations Cup in 2019 in 2021. It says a lot about that. How much did the federal government bequeath for that particular match between Nigeria and Ghana? Ghana actually spent $3.5 million prosecuting that match because they claimed it was the $12 million match. Remember that FIFA will be giving $12 million to anybody that attends the FIFA World Cup. Nigeria did not see it from that particular perspective, so we didn't invest any major monies into that particular match. Ultimately, the result is there for everyone to see. So when you exclude the Nigeria Football Federation from such a critical document, it is almost impossible because you are leaving them high and dry. When you look at it, over the last 8 years, it's over the last 7 years, for example, from information I have, is that the federal government has given Nigeria 15 billion, which is commendable, but the Nigeria Football Federation spends close to about 11 billion every year trying to prosecute several national teams. So you can see that the inadequacies and the shortcomings are still there. And this kind of document, as laudable as it is already misfiring before implementation even begins. That is if implementations can begin without the Congress. But away from that, quickly, let me just touch on this. Doctor, I promised I was going to bring out some, because campaign has begun. 30th of September, we'll be having the NFF elections in Benin. We'll be there to cover it live for our eyes. And let's just bring out some of the notable candidates. Probably on Friday, we'll talk about the outliers that are in the offing for the highest seats in Nigerian football. And if they can actually help us with the graphics there, we can actually see some people there. Of course, Shehu Diko is one of those that's actually almost ticks all the box, understanding that he's a seasoned administrator. He has a huge war chest to actually play with in this particular election, and also he's a dependable ally of Pinnick. But people have questioned him that under his watch, the Nigerian Professional Football League has seen a sharp decline, and also if you actually look at it closely, they've also criticized him that he's not been able to bring in enough marketing opportunities to the Nigeria Football Federation. Away from that is Barrister Seyi Akiwumi, the first vice president of the Nigeria Football Federation. Of course, he's one of the most successful lawyers that I know personally. Just speaking about myself, of course, he's one of the principals in the Akiwumi and Busari chambers. And also, we must talk about the fact that he's invested heavily in youth and women football over the years, and it has actually reaped dividends, and that's working heavily for him. And there are allegations or there are premonitions that he's actually being favored by the Minister of Youth and Sports for this particular. If they can help us with those particular graphics, then of course when they talk about weaknesses, they say that he's a consummate gentleman, and that might work in his favor because the Nigeria Football Federation, there are a lot of fighters in that particular rank, and some they like fighters, so to speak, to lead them. But I'm sure this should also work in his favor because he's actually a calm and level-headed man, and also they say he has a limited reach within the Congress. Quickly, Ibrahim Gusso, he's a strong team player and a bridge builder amongst them. He's very popular amongst the Congress. And Musa Amadu, who just announced his own candidature and his aspirations yesterday. Over the years, he's shown that he's highly competent, he's prudent with funds, and he's a sound administrator. Over to you, Dr. Abati.
Well, first, let me start with the 10-year
master plan.
And to say that the 10-year football development master plan of Nigeria is good at last is ready. Because that committee, was it a 16-member or 10-member committee?
I think about the 10-member committee.
Yes, led by Alhaji Ibrahim Galadima.
Yes.
And also you have in the place, former director in the Ministry of Youth and Sports, Dr. Durutoye, acting as secretary.
Yeah.
And then you had the likes of Tony Nacheta, who I saw in Delta State just a few days ago. Shegun Odegbami,
he was featured there.
Adeoje Kere,
yeah,
our colleague, Ikeji Isiguzo, also a sports journalist. So people who understand the terrain, who have spent a better part of their lives, in that sector. So I'm surprised that you say that, the recommendations, the proposals will seem to exclude the Nigerian Football Federation. Now, you recall that recently the Indian Football Federation was suspended.
Yes, they were.
By
FIFA.
FIFA,
yeah, on
the grounds of third-party intervention.
Yes.
Because Articles 9 and 11 of the FIFA guidelines, convention, will not allow third-party intervention. So, if it's now the federal government trying to dictate how football should develop, well, technically, can you really exclude the NFF? But we can pursue that further and investigate it. But a master plan is a working document. It can be reviewed in the process of implementation. But it is good that we already have it. Now, the implementation of it is important because in this country, you can prepare blueprints, you can prepare master
Doctor,
plan.
this is not the first. You remember when former President Goodluck Jonathan banned football for 2 years, international football for 2 years, and he actually went back on that decision, and they actually had a football summit. They came up with a white paper, they came up with a document also. Godwin Keyeka also brought up a document under Solomon Dalong.
I know, that's why I'm saying.
A dime in the dozen.
It's not enough to have a master plan. It's good to implement it. And maybe that is why the Chief Justice, Adokiye Amismeka,
yes,
has been quoted in the papers. You know Adokiye Amismeka?
Yes, ex-footballer in River State.
Named the Chief Justice by Ernest Okonkwo,
yes, Ernest Okonkwo,
the veteran football sports and sports commentator.
Yeah.
Saying, that look, this thing will not work. He's very skeptical about it. And maybe it's coming from the same direction. But we expect that now that that master plan is provided, that an effort will be made. But we don't just need a master plan for football. We need a blueprint
for
sports development.
Yes.
When you realize and appreciate the importance of sports as diplomacy and as business, and as a foreign policy tool and as business, and even for health purposes. Once upon a time in this country, we used to have a thriving league.
Yes, we do.
How many people today will remember Academy Warriors or what are these other football, you know?
Which of them? Canopilas?
Yes, Canopilas and others. Who even goes to the stadium to watch anybody? But once upon a time in this country, people were fans of ICC, Enugu Rangers. If any mention of all those movers,
there was a Salam Rocks from your home state, from
Ogboku. What of NCC Ogboku?
The BCC Lions.
BCC Lions.
Bendel Insurance. Flash Flamingos. Bendel United.
Stationary stores.
The people in the gallery, they are getting excited. In other words, we would like to see a situation where football is developed to such a level that it becomes really big business in Nigeria, right?
Yeah.
As it had the potential to become. And then we must also make the facilities available. I once said on this program that the National Stadium in Surulere, Lagos is one of the best pepper soup joints in Lagos today. What do you remember? The National Stadium that used to be a center for sports development is pepper soup. And then churches going there on Sunday to
Doctor, I must say this because kudos to Nkechi Obi, who has been thinking along your line, and they started Sport Nigeria. And I'm hoping that this kind of not just initiative, but this kind of phenomenon gets the full backing of the ministry. It's unfortunate that the Minister of Youth and Sports is bringing up this 10-year document in the 11th hour.
Twilight of the administration.
Because who enforces it?
No, error.
That is if the Congress of the Nigeria Football Federation adopts it. Because if they do not adopt it, it's still an alien document.
Aaron, we have a document. It is to the credit of the minister that he came out with a document.
He's not the first.
No, but it will be there in his name as one of his legacies. What is the content of that document? Will it improve football? Yes.
Yes.
No? It will.
Yes, it will improve football.
Who will implement it? How will it be implemented? Are you going to do it exclusive of NFF? No. You do that, FIFA will bring down the hammer. So, one way or the other, the NFF must be carried along.
But they were not carried along.
Yes, but now that we have a document, if the document is good, you don't write a script twice when the script is good. Error. So if it's a good document, then let's talk about how we are going to implement it. NFF not carried along. How do we carry them along? You get the Congress to look at the document
to ratify
the
document. Yes.
And we move on. Yes, the Minister of Sports decided to devote his time and energy to only football, but he's the Minister of Sports. That has always been the problem. Everybody concentrating on football.
Well, Aaron, who is your candidate for this? Who is your candidate for this NFF presidential election?
Doctor, look at that.
I suspect, but I don't want to jump the gun.
You suspect, and I'm sure you suspect wrong, because as it.
You don't have a candidate.
No, I don't, okay. Because you can actually see all of them bring quite a lot to the table. They might have some lapses here and there, but all of them bring quite a lot to the table. And these are men, because Shehu Diko is the Shehu Diko is the second vice president of the Nigeria Football Federation.
When
so you are the first vice president.
When you are talking of weaknesses, I see two of them, you already tick them up. You said one lacks war chest, another one limited cash flow. So it looks like this is about cash.
No. Doctor, which election is not about cash?
I was even surprised to hear war chest. In NFF election.
In NFF election.
Yes.
Oh, so they are going to give delegates money.
Doctor, no, campaigning, not giving delegates election, because you need to go around the geopolitical zones. You need to actually we're not talking about actually probably incentivizing this candidate here. You need to go around these geopolitical zones. You need to go around state by state. We have 36 states.
So you need a war chest.
Yes, you need monies to actually do that. Everyone knows
to wet
that.
The ground.
Yes,
as you get along.
Yes, as you go along. You need to talk to these people. You need to go around, and some have more than others. based on their positions.
Maybe someday in this country we'll take another look at the Electoral Act to say any election at all, even village community association, nobody must monetize it. That's how they like it. Thank you.